Hey, welcome to Socialism for All. Today's date is April 27, 2021. In this video, we're going to take a look at an article exposing YouTuber Socialism Done Left as kind of a piece of shit. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe and consider supporting us on Patreon. There's a link to Patreon in the video description. Okay, so the title of this article from Vice is Leaked Racist Messages Show Leftist YouTuber Isn't. Socialism Done Left is the latest Breadtube personality who isn't what they say they are. This article is by Gita Jackson from today, April 27th. So let me just preface this before we get into the article. I have watched, I think, about 10 seconds of one Socialism Done Left video in my life. I don't watch a ton of left YouTube. I watch more now this year than I did last year. Basically, just as I'm getting more involved in the community as a channel and, seeing who else is going out here. But as far as this whole Breadtube thing, I had my more soft left phase like years ago prior to Breadtube. So I've never been, in the Vosh, like serfs, whatever thing. And I guess I count myself as fortunate, although in my time it was more of like libertarianism, and there's maybe even bigger problems with that. Anyway, like I said, I watched about 10 seconds of one video. I thought it was terrible. I can't even remember the point the guy was making, but I was like, no, literally, if you think that, I just don't want to hear anything else that you say. But we see that there's this trend of like right-wingers or reformed right-wingers suddenly proclaiming that they are left-wing without really doing much work, and then becoming leading voices, and then there are problems that ensue. Well, that is the case here again, just like with Vosh, just like with a lot of these personalities. Maybe not every single one, but it seems to be a trend. Okay, getting into the article, quote, over the weekend, online leftists leaked racist and anti-Semitic Discord messages posted by Socialism Done Left, a YouTuber who does socialism and politics explainers and videos. The messages have started a wider conversation in the Breadtube community about the utility of YouTubers in the broader leftist world. Socialism Done Left is a socialist YouTuber in the broad, loosely categorized group of YouTubers that's been dubbed Breadtube by fans. Socialism Done Left is in the same vein of YouTubers and streamers like Ian Danskin and Hassan Piker. They make political, societal, and economic explainers and videos that have fostered communities on YouTube, Twitch, and Discord to talk about political issues and activism. While Socialism Done Left nominally pushes for progressive policies, the leaked Discord messages, which include dozens of overtly racist comments about black people, anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, and Islamophobia, show that the public personas of some Breadtubers are at odds with what they say behind the scenes. It also has raised questions about whose side some of these streamers and YouTube personalities are really on. The messages, some of which Socialism Done Left has admitted to posting, apparently come from the YouTuber Destiny, the YouTuber Destiny's Discord channel, and were largely made in 2019. Comment, not very long ago. Destiny, who identifies as a liberal, has had his politics come into question, I'll say, when it comes to his stances on Black Lives Matter protests, saying the N-word, again, comment Vosh, capitalism, and popular progressive legislation like the Green New Deal. The utility of broader online debate has also come under scrutiny recently after an awkward and uninformative debate between Destiny and Marxist economist Richard Wolff. Quick comment on that. Destiny is an irredeemable piece of crap. I watched about 5 minutes of him talking to whoever the main guy on the Serfs is. Holy shit, I couldn't believe what this guy was saying. I don't watch Destiny. I don't watch people play video games online. I don't really get that. Like, I don't play that many video games. I mean, I'm just kind of beyond that stage in my life. But like, if I was in a video game mood, I'd probably just play them. Anyway, my understanding of Destiny is that he's basically like a run-of-the-mill, center-right liberal. And he achieved some fame for debating far-right fascist figures. So it's not super hard to do that because they're very fringe, they're very wrong, and it's very easy to show why they're wrong. So he, got a ton of clout for doing that. And then he starts debating people on the left, using this horseshoe theory, like everyone in the, further away from the status quo is all the same, etc. Nonsense. But the Richard Wolff debate, which probably is going to be my next video, just another example of like, these guys don't know shit about shit. So it's really time to retire this entire like radlib. I mean, Destiny's not even a radlib. It's time to retire all this stuff. Move on to Marxism, okay? It's time. Moving on with the article. Quote, streamers like Socialism Done Left have also debated right-wing personalities on their platform. He's the latest in a long line of podcasters, YouTubers, and people on the, quote, dirtbag left, comment, terrible term, who have actively flirted with, platformed, or otherwise aired views that are either the same as or dangerously close to those espoused by the far right and groups aligned with it, like the Proud Boys. So, quick comment there. We'll see where this article goes. But like I said, I think a lot of these guys are actually wolves in sheep's clothing. Like, they, quote, used to be right-wing, but is it really a question of used to be, or is this actually just a ploy to kind of spread right-wing ideas and sabotage the left? Let's move on. Socialism Done Left has since apologized for these messages on a Twitch live stream, saying that some of these statements were jokes made for, quote, shock humor, and that he does not use this language anymore 3 years later in 2021. Actually 2019 is not 3 years ago. I don't... Anyway, depends what time that, of year it was. That's more like 2 years. But anyway, he also said that in some cases he was mimicking the language of racists. Okay, yes, you were. And emphasized that he doesn't find this language acceptable. Okay. When these messages were initially leaked by a black leftist Twitter user, they said that they anticipated that Socialism Done Left would say some of these messages were jokes. Quote, why the fuck are black people, Jewish people, and trans people always at the butt of these shitty, quote, jokes, they wrote. Who were you parodying here? What's the punchline? Unquote. Very good questions. And that is exactly the point. For years, people online have been making horribly racist, sexist, homophobic, and other bigoted, quote, jokes under the guise that they're, quote, just trolling or, quote, shitposting. The problem is that these jokes come at the expense of the people they're about. Comment, also, they're oftentimes not actually jokes. They also signal who these online spaces are actively designed for and who is safe to be there. Even if you're in a space that is nominally described as leftist, if you are making jokes at the expense of the marginalized, you are signaling to people that the space wasn't built with them in mind. Despite Socialism Done Left's apology, leftists on Twitter and elsewhere don't seem to be buying it, or at least they don't feel obligated to trust or listen to this person any longer. Recently, other YouTubers and streamers that have been described as Breadtube have begun to question the value of political debates, especially after Destiny and Richard Wolff's stream ended in a wash. Personally, if you've made edgy jokes about black people in the last 5 years, I'm not sure you need to be the one to educate others on the politics of the left. You might have more learning to do yourself. And that's the end of the article. Let me wholeheartedly endorse that last point. Growing up in the United States, in particular, not just the United States, but in the United States in particular, especially if you're a white person, not necessarily exclusively if you're a white person, but especially if you are, as Socialism Done Left is, you probably have many years ahead of you if you're, in fact, sincere. And that's a point they didn't even really touch on too much in the article. I think a lot of these people are not actually sincerely left to begin with, but we'll leave that aside for right now. But you get all these people who are like, oh, yeah, I was a Nazi last week, but like, I'm, let me tell you all about XYZ, socialist ideas. You even see this in the Marxist left and the Marxist-Leninist left. It's like, oh yeah, I was a Trump guy 6 months ago, but let me talk down to you about, how your version of Marxism is wrong and we need to embrace the right wing more. Like, no, actually what you need to do is shut the fuck up and examine your own beliefs for a much longer period of time before you take a frontline position in terms of positioning your voice, okay? We all always have more to learn, but there definitely is a period, like I would call minimum 5 years. If you've been involved with the far right in any way, I mean, and what's the far right? The United States is just far right, okay? I mean, if you're coming out of US culture, unless you literally were like raised by Marxist parents, like from birth to, just, and you're really on it, and you've been part of an org like for a really long time, whatever. Odds are you're brainwashed. And that's kind of like the first step to freedom is admitting you have a problem. Anyone raised in this culture has a severe problem. This is a fucked up culture built on centuries of genocide, slavery, lynchings, segregation, you name it. And one does not merely, snap out of that at the drop of a hat. That's just not how it works. It really takes years of careful inspection of your thought process, of your values, re-examination, and shifting your perspective. It doesn't happen overnight. I, at one point in my life, was much more contaminated by that. I started out very afraid to stand up against it, even taking what I would describe as very timid steps now, would make my whole sort of body shake. Just, it was really intimidating at first. I grew up very afraid of standing up to any kind of oppression. I practiced it. I think it took me a solid 10 years before any of this worked at all. And I would say I was sincere about it. That's, again, leaving aside the question of wolves in sheep's clothing or infiltrators or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, I hope that this has been interesting for you. Be real skeptical of the radlib scene. What's a radlib? Liberals who use radical language. And sometimes people just aren't how they describe themselves. This is why we need to get into ideas and not just labels. With that, I'm going to sign off and thank our current patrons whose names are on the screen. If you'd like to get your name on the screen, head to patreon.com/socialismforall. Every donation is encouraging and we greatly appreciate them. Of course, if that is not the route for you and you want to help out, spread the links, spread the links, spread the links. I am no longer on Facebook at all. If you're in left Facebook groups, would love it if you could share the videos. You can really reach a lot of people that way. So again, we just appreciate this whole community and your support. Please keep sharing the videos. Let's keep this conversation going for the end of capitalism.